And then I opened my hand and five of me appeared. One was on the right, one was on the left, one was underneath the sink, underneath the water, one was watching them, another one was watching them, and I was watching all of them.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the channel within. I'm Mira, and I'm excited to be talking with Dennis Bullock this morning about his amazing journey thus far. Welcome, Dennis, and thank you for being here with me today.
Hello, Mira. Thank you for inviting me to the channel within. It's a real pleasure to be here, and I'm very happy to share my experience of what happened with me with your audience.
So, before we get started with the NDE, can you tell us a little bit about your background before that?
Yes, well, I was born in Philadelphia in America. Um, my childhood background, my my mother was a legal secretary, but she quit her job to marry my father. And my father was a Marine, he was a cop, and yeah, and I grew up in Philadelphia. We came from a kind of a Christian home, but not very serious Christian, just I would call a holiday Christian type of situation. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I was I became a musician uh, because my father, after work, he would come home and play music on his stereo, and he would play some of the best jazz in the world. And in the beginning, I thought, oh, I don't like this music. But later on, as I grew older, because I was young, um, as I grew older, I began to appreciate it and I began to love it. And so that's what pushed me to become a musician. And yeah, so that was kind of my background.
Okay, so what about the your first mystical experience? Would it be when you had a visitation from your mom after she passed?
Yes, that would be my first real major spiritual experience. Me and my mother, we were very, very close. Um, my father was very, comes from a military background, military family, so he was very dutiful, but he was not so, um, I wouldn't say, he was not so open as far as emotions go. So he would just say, well, what do you want for your birthday? Okay, here it is. What do you want for Christmas? Okay, here it is. Where my mother would, she would come and say, hey, wake me up in the morning and say, gotta look outside, listen to the birds. They're so beautiful. She brought the joy and the love in my life. And um, she bought me my first saxophone. And she didn't have a job. She stayed for 3 years to buy me my first saxophone. And she was the joy of my life until one day she got sick and and then she passed away. And when she passed away, it was like somebody turned out the lights in my life. And when she passed away, I did I was so much I felt the world was so dark at that point. There was no light in my life. So, I mean, I was in Montreal, Canada, and at that time, and after she passed away, after 2 weeks, I started to drink. I would go to the bar, drink, and then I would come back home into my apartment, sit on the side of my bed, and cry myself to sleep. And I did that for about 2 weeks after she died, and until this one night. This one night, I was coming back from the bar, ready to do my routine, and I came in my room, turned out the light, sat on the side of my bed, and I went to untie my sneakers. And when I went to untie my sneakers, I saw on the floor, on the ground, that there was light. And I said, that's funny. I know I turned out the light. Why is there light on the ground? And here's the crazy part. When I looked up, what I saw in my room was like the sun that you see in the sky is now in my room. And my mouth went open. I said, oh. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And then after that, out of this light, this sun that was in my room, came these stars, these two stars. One was bigger and one was smaller, and they were floating out towards me. And the smaller star, I recognized that it was my mother. And when this light appeared, when before they floated out, when this light appeared, it was like if you ever been in the ocean and there's a wave and it covers your whole body, it's too tall for your body, it just covers your whole body. It was like that. It was like a wave of love. This love just covered my body, every cell in my body, everything. And something that I usually sometimes forget to mention in some of my interviews. One of it's that this light when it appeared in my room, it it literally I could feel it sucking the alcohol out of my body. Like when the wave is the water is pulling back to the ocean. That's how it felt. It sucked. I could feel it sucking alcohol out of my body, so it was gone. Then these two stars approached me, and I recognized the one that was my mother. And then, sh
So I have a question for you,
yes,
Dennis. How
yes,
did you
yes.
recognize that? Is it just a sense of
Oh,
knowing?
um, I guess it's more of a sense of an essence. Like if I was to put your mother and put five other women that have the same hairstyle, but made them turn their backs and the same similar weight. I bet you could pick your mother out just from the essence, just from the feeling.
That totally makes sense because, I've heard that we recognize our loved ones by their energetic makeup. And
Yes,
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 I would totally be able to recognize her. So thank you for
yeah,
clarifying that.
yes. And so I said, it's like that over there, Mom. That's the first thing I said. It's like that over there. Because it felt like I was on the beach in Hawaii and I'm a billionaire and there's nothing but love around me. And I have everything. So it was just so amazing. So I said, "It's like that over there, Mom." And then she started to talk with me. And there was another light with her also, but this was a much taller light. This light was like had to be about 7 feet, something like that. And it was standing next to her, and she started to talk to me like I'm talking to you, except the conversation I could literally feel like it was being shot into my body. I could actually feel the conversation in my body. And she said, I'm going to tell you a week in the future, so you're going to know that this is not a dream or this is not fake or this is real. Now, she said, you're going to get a job next week. Now, my band, we hadn't worked in about 3 weeks. It was a real dry spell. So we hadn't worked in a long time. And she said, next week you're going to get a job. And she said, there's going to be a bouncer, a man at this door, at this club that works in this club. She said he's going to be a homosexual and he's going to be a psychopath. She said, um, whatever you do, don't get into an argument or a fight with him. Now, me, I don't have nothing against anybody who's lesbian, gay, or homosexual, but my mother knew me, and my mother knew that if you are homosexual and you know that I'm not, and you come after me, that I would defend myself. And that's just how I was. But when she told me that, I said, "No, Mom." I said, "I will do exactly what you said." Because I was so happy to see her. I was so happy that she was all right. I was so happy because when she passed away, it was like I didn't know where she went because I didn't really believe the religious upbringing that I was taught. And so for me, I just didn't know where she went. She just disappeared from me. So I said, Mom, anything you say, I will do it. And she said, well, just don't get into a fight or an argument because there's going to be two things or timelines that could happen. She said the first timeline, she said he would kill you. The second timeline, she said you would kill him, but you would go to jail for the rest of your life. And she said one of these two timelines will happen if you get into an argument with him. And I said, no, Mom, whatever you say, I'm going to do. And then she said, oh, yeah, about your girlfriend. She said she has three kids that you don't know about. And she said she's going to try to have a fourth one with you. She's going to try to trap you. She said, be careful with that. And then, uh, and then she paused. And then I said, hey, Mom, but who's this other light with you? It was the 7 foot tall light standing next to her. And then the light spoke to me and it said, I'm an escort. I'm escorting your mother to the earth. And the exact words was, this is an interruption in your life. And when it said that, it said, an interruption. Well, I mean, I have God in my room. It's like Star Wars in my room right now. I said, I want to know why, who's going to be my wife? How many kids I'm going to have? Why am I here? And this, I call it an angel. This angel said very quietly and calmly, I'm going to tell you everything you ask, but you won't be allowed to remember. Only what your mother tells you. So it told me everything, but I can't remember anything, only what my mother said. So then my mother, after the angel spoke, then my mother said, I'm always going to be around you. She said, but you will not realize it as much as you do tonight. And then she said, I love you. And then they both began to float back to the sun, which was in my room, God. And as they were floating back, the room started to get dimmer and dimmer and dimmer and dimmer, like a glass and a piece of ice in the water melting. And when the my room went totally dark, that's when tears burst out my eyes because I said, nobody's ever going to believe this. Nobody's ever going to believe me. They're going to never believe this happened. Nobody's going to believe this happened. Nobody. But I got the proof. And the next day, my band called me and they said, hey, man, we got a job. Now, when he told me that, I didn't tell my band what happened the night before because I didn't want them to think, oh, he's a great singer, great saxophone player, but since his mom died, he lost it, man. So I didn't dare tell him what happened the night before. So I said, oh, a job. That's great. That's great. Thanks. And I hung up the phone. And then I started to think, I said, oh, wow, everything is starting to happen like my mother said. So I go to the sound check, we call it. And that's for people who don't know, the sound check is when the band checks the musical equipment a few hours before the actual show to make sure everything is working properly. So I went to this club, which we didn't play before, and there was these two huge bouncers. I mean, and I'm a pretty tall guy, big guy, but these guys were huge, Hulk Hogan type of people, wrestling. And I saw them there, but they didn't say nothing to me, and no, nothing happened. So I went into the club. We did our sound check, and everything went okay. And then I came back that night for the job to do the job. Now, I came in to the club. There was a big bouncer there, but he didn't say nothing to me, and I didn't say nothing to him. And I went into the club. We did our first show, which went great. And then we took a break because we were on our break. And I was talking to the band. Let's say this is a band and this is me. And I'm talking to the band. And then this bouncer walks behind me and grabs my butt. And I went, "Hey, guys, did you see that? This bouncer man just grabbed my butt. I got to tell this guy something." But the band didn't see it because he was walking. I was in front of them, so they just saw the guy pass, but they didn't see the grab. So I was very angry. It was I got to tell this guy something. And as I was walking over there, I was mad. And then I said, "Oh yeah, don't lose it, man. Remember mom. Remember what mom said. Don't lose it. Don't lose it." So I went over there and I said, "Hey man, listen, I'm not like that. Please don't touch me anymore." He said, "I didn't touch you. You had too much to drink." I said, "No, man, you did touch me. Please don't touch me. I'm not like that." And then he said, "Well, why did you tell your friends?" And I said, "I told my friends because you touched me. And I'm asking you, I'm telling you, I'm not like that. So please don't touch me." And then I walked away because the longer I stayed there, the more the conversation was pointing towards an argument. And I know what my mom told me. So I walked away. And I did the second show. It went good. And then I left because I was normally I would stay and talk with the people after the show, but I left because I didn't feel comfortable there. So I left, and the next day, a band member called me and said, "Hey man, did you hear what happened?" And I said, "No, I left the club. Everything was okay as far as I know." He said, "Remember that bouncer you told us that had grabbed you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "This guy got into an argument with the club owner and crushed both of his rib cages, killed the club owner, and went to jail for manslaughter." When he said that, my mouth went open. Oh, exactly what my mother was telling me. Except I didn't get into an argument. I did not get into an argument with him, but the club owner did. And I didn't say even then, I said, "Okay, thank you, man." And I just hung up the phone. I still didn't tell my band what happened because, like I said, I didn't want them thinking a certain way about me. So I said to myself, "Oh my God, everything is happening exactly like my mother said." Exactly. And I said, "If that's true, then my girlfriend." So I pick up the phone. I'm calling my girlfriend and I say, she answers the phone. "Hello, hello." I say, "Hi, how are you? Just tell me something. Tell me the truth. Do you have three kids?" And the phone went silent. And then she said, "Who told you?" And I said, "Wait a minute, this can't be true. I know you for almost 2 years. No way, can't be true. I'm gonna ask you again. Do you have three kids?" And she said, "Yes, I have three kids, but who told you?" And I said, "Okay, I'm gonna tell you who told me. My dead mother told me. And I'm telling you that we're finished. Because if you're gonna hide your own kids from me, I don't know what else you could be hiding. So we're finished." And then I hung up the phone. And that was my first s- uh, heavy spiritual event. And that guy is
Thank,
still in jail to this day. Yeah.
thank you for sharing that powerful story. It shows how our loved ones, and in this case, your mom, traveled across time and space to make contact. And it just shows the love that exists on the other side and then on this side as well.
It
It
saved
saved
my
your life.
life, basically, because I was not looking for trouble, but I call it the roaring 20s. And yeah, I was vigor and I wasn't looking for trouble, but I could handle it if it came my way. And my mother knew that. That's why she told me, "Don't get in an argument or a fight with this person." And she told me, like I said, about those timelines. So yeah, that was the first one. And it just told me, that one told me that, man, there's much more to life than what I'm seeing. That's was for sure. And yeah, that was the first event.
So, did you have other mystical experiences like that or and or
Yeah,
the NDE?
yeah, no, no. After that, I tried to go back to what I call normal life because I didn't think nobody was going to believe my story if I tried to tell them. So I said, I'm going to try to go back to normal life. So what I did, I started to go back into my music again, and I was following this singer who used to sing, who was singing with this group. platters, but they were the renewed platters. They weren't the original platters. It was the renewed platters because the original platters is too old for me. But the renewed platters, and he was a great singer, very, very great voice. And I was following him. I was singing background for him, and he was like my mentor. And we were doing shows together until one night he offered me some drugs. And I started to do drugs with him, which I want to say I'm not so proud of that I did that. But I thought at the time that that was the way, and I'm going to be successful. This guy has records in Germany and everywhere around the world, Canada, everywhere. So I wanted to be like him. I wanted to be successful. And we did a few shows, many shows like that, until one day, after a weekend, he just dropped dead. And that was my wake-up call. So I stopped doing drugs, cold turkey, no drugs, no nothing. And I decided to replace that and not do hard drugs and replace it with marijuana. I thought, oh, you'd smoke some marijuana once a month or twice a month, that's okay. So that's what I was doing until one day, me and my new girlfriend, we ran out of marijuana. We didn't have any marijuana that day. And sadly to say, I have to say, is that most musicians know where to get marijuana, no matter what country they're in, no matter where they are. Okay, so I ran out and I just called a friend, a musician, and I said, "Hey, I ran out of marijuana. Do you have any?" And he said, "Oh yeah, sure. I'll bake it in a cake for you and bring it over." So he baked it in a cake, and he must have poured a bunch of marijuana in there, the whole kitchen sink, a lot of stuff. And I didn't know it at that time, but I found out later. And he brought it over. It was a chocolate cake. And he brought it over to my apartment and left it there with me and my girlfriend. So I cut her a piece, and then I cut myself a piece, and we ate it. And we waited 10 minutes, and nothing happened. And I said, "You feel anything?" She said, "No, I don't feel anything." And I said, "I don't know. Maybe we have to eat more because maybe he didn't put a lot in there." I said, "Yeah." So I this time I cut her half the cake and I took the other half. So we ate our halves and 10 minutes went by again. And then I said, "You feel anything?" She said, "No, I don't feel anything." I said, "Me neither." I said, "It must be a bad batch. I don't know." And then we waited again and another 10 minutes went by and we started to feel something. But it wasn't like we were getting high. It was more like our bodies were shutting down. I would be talking to her, and then all of a sudden, I would forget to breathe. And I was having trouble to move. I couldn't hardly move. And she said, "You better call 911 now while we still can." And I said, "Yeah, that's right. That's true." So I pushed myself really hard to pick up the phone and I dialed 911. And they answered and they said, "Oh, hello, how can we help you?" And I was so embarrassed to tell them why I was calling. But I said, I think we took too much marijuana and it feels like we're dying. Could you come, please save us, help us?" So they said yes. And they will be on our way. And I hung up the phone. And what I didn't realize when I made that call is that when you call 911, and if it's about a narcotic of any kind, they also call the police. So, and this happened around the police and them came around 3 or 4 in the morning. And the police came first, and they were looking in the apartment for something to charge us with, but they had nothing because we had eaten all the cake. So there was nothing to charge us with. So they left, and the ambulance came and took us down by stretcher. Each of us had a stretcher. Now we lived on the third floor, and there was like a stairwell in front of all the other apartments, which had a big window. So at 4 o'clock in the morning, you hear all these lights flashing, and you see us being carried down these stairwell. Uh, and for the neighbors, it was like, "What's happening to them? Oh my God!" So they put us in the ambulance, and I was very helpful. I mean, happy that they came when they came because I could barely, my heart was barely beating, like because my body was stiffening up. So I was very happy. I said, "Oh, thank God they're here. Thank God they're here." And they took me, well, they took us in the ambulance to the hospital. And when we arrived at the hospital, another crazy thing happened was as they were passing me by the reception, I see my dead mother again. This time, she's looking through the reception papers, looking for me, where I'm gonna be, that's what got the feeling. And what I realized at that moment, I said, "That's strange. There's mom." How I knew it was her because she was part of this women's club, and they would play bingo together. They would go on trips together. These 10 women, and they would wear these specific shirts, and I saw her with that shirt on, and I said, "That's strange. There's mom." And they reeled me to a room and they put my girlfriend in another room. Now, what I realized that when they reeled me past the reception, I was so close to death. That's why I was able to see her as clear as I see you right now. And they put her in another room and they put me in a room and put me on the bed and they gave me this black drink to drink. Now, I thought it was tar at first, but later I found out it was charcoal. So they left my room and they were in my girlfriend's room and the doctors and I was on the bed and I'm saying sitting on the bed, lying on the bed saying, "Ah, thank God. I think I'm gonna live. I'm gonna live now. I think I'm gonna live." So I drank this drink that tastes horrible. And I drank it all down as fast as I can. And I'm laying on the side of the bed. And then all of a sudden, as I'm laying down, totally getting relaxed, I start to hear my heart. But at this time, it sounds like somebody put my heart in my right ear. And it starts to beat boom, 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 boom. And when it did the last bump, it's like I popped out of my body. Like I jumped out of my seat and just popped out. And I was standing on the side and my body was in the bed. And the first thing I said was, "I'm out." And I started to look at my hand. And when I looked at my hand, I saw that it had this light gray, light blue tint around it. Is the best way I can describe it. Kind of like the circle in the back here. Kind of like that. Like that, except it's all around my hand. And I'm looking at my hand, and all of a sudden I hear this drop of water. There's a sink across in the room across from my bed, and it's a water dripping in the sink. Boop, boop, boop. Now, for some odd reason, I don't know why, but my curiosity at that point was like at 1,000. A drop of water to a soul was the most amazing thing you could see. And I said, "Wow, a drop of water. I'd like to see that water." And the minute I thought it, my vision went straight up close to it and back. And then, as if I was remembering, it's like if I gave you, you hadn't ridden a bike in 20 years and I give you a bike, you're going to be able to ride it. It was like that. It was like I was remembering. And I wanted to stop that water in midair so I could see it. I needed to stop time. So I just waved my hand across the air just like that, as if I was remembering how to do it. And the water froze. I'd stopped time. And to a soul, that was not like a wow moment. To me here, it was like, oh my God. But over there, it was, yeah, okay. And then I said, I would like to see that water from every angle and that drop of water. And then I opened my hand and five of me appeared. One was on the right, one was on the left, one was underneath the sink, underneath the water, one was watching them, another one was watching them, and I was watching all of them. And my mouth was open. I was like, oh, whoa, five of me. And then when I would close my hand, they would all suck up to one, me. And then I would open my hand. And this became fun. I started to close it, then open it, close it, then open it. And then I said, I wonder if I open my hand and do it with a little shake, will they all shake, all five of them? And I opened my hand and I did a little shake, and they all appeared and they did a little shake like that, and I burst out laughing. I burst out laughing, and my laugh sounded like I was in the Grand Canyon. Ha 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 ha. And then after the laugh, I felt somebody was watching me. And then I heard a voice. And this voice was like a parent in the playground. What a parent would say, it would say, don't run around the corner too fast, you could fall. Well, this voice said to me, if you don't go back now, you might have to stay. And it
You were
was,
still in the room at this point, though, right?
yes.
Okay.
And 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 I said, oh yeah, that's right, because my heart can't stay stopped that long. And I knew that that voice was God. But it was gentle. It was not commanding me that I must go back. It was just giving me a choice because it knew that at a certain point I wouldn't be able to return to that body because the heart would be too damaged. So I said, that's right. And I pointed myself at the bed where my body was. And here's another thing. I didn't want to look at my face, my face when I was dead because I was afraid that I was going to have some death expression. And I didn't want to be afraid. I only saw my leg and I was standing next to the bed, so I knew that I was gone. And so I pointed myself in the body and I said, I'm going to jump into that body. And the minute I thought it, I jumped in. And my heart did a double beat and it beat. And oh yeah, there's one other thing I have to mention. I don't know if you have Alka-Seltzer. If you have heard of Alka-Seltzer. Well, the Alka-Seltzer, it dissolves, right? While I was outside of my body, information was expanding. The longer I was out, the more information I was getting. And this time I was allowed to bring it back. And this information was totally the opposite of what I believed in, or what I believed things were to be. It was about everything, about
Can you give us
why.
some examples,
Yeah,
Dennis?
sure. Oh, yeah, sure. An example, on the other side, there is no right or wrong. There's only perception. Um, we are gods and we're also part of God. We can have multiple lifetimes at the same time. Um, the lifetime we're having now is like a small piece of your fingernail of your soul. That's how powerful your soul is. Um, Also about hell, the reason why some people experience hell is because they are God and what they believe in, they are creating on the other side. God is only love. Okay. But people who experience hell, they've created that because they believe in it or they feared it so much that they actually really created it because they're gods. And when they go to the other side, they go to this hell that they believed in existed, so they created it. And two things either happen when they do that. Either they wait a little bit and they find out, oh, it's me that created this, and they leave, or they say, God, please help me. I'm in hell. Please help me. And God comes and says, okay, I take you out of your own creation. And they get taken out and they come back and they think that, oh, God saved me. They don't even, maybe, may not even understand their experience fully. Um, because the thing is, God has never created hell. It's never existed, not from God. But God gives you free will at all times. So they take them out of hell, and in the Christian religion, if you go to hell, you're never supposed to get out, right? So why are hundreds and hundreds of people getting out telling this story? Okay, because they're not supposed to get out. So it's because they're the ones who actually created that. And it's very similar to heaven. even though there are heavenly realms, but it's not a particular place that you go to on the other side because you're a good person. Because every place on the other side, guess what? Is heaven because it's God. It's created by God. Okay, so also the Bible, sorry to say for the Christians that only some of it is true. The information that came to me was that a lot of it was uh, manipulated by the government and by the priests or the religious leaders at that time. There is a Christ-like consciousness on the other side that does exist, just under unconditional love. And in the Bible, when it says Christ will be coming back, they're not talking about a person. They're talking about a way of thinking, a way of being. That the way Christ was being, that way is coming back. Yes, that's the thing that's coming back. Um, yeah, and also Christ. I got information about Christ that first thing on the other side, there is no hierarchy. That means Angel Gabriel is not more closer to God than you. Angel Michael is not more closer to God than you. Virgin Mary is not more closer to God than you. Jesus is not more closer to God than you are. In fact, Jesus is like a brother or to me, just like to you, just like to everyone. That's why Christians ignore this, but Jesus said, "These works I do, but you'll do greater." Why would he say that if he's supposed to be the only one, is the only person that can contact God and you can't? He said that to tell you that I'm no better than you. I'm a brother. You can do better than me. It's not a, he was trying to tell you there's no hierarchy. Okay. Um, Also, I got information about the times we're living in now that the earth is changing to a new dimension. We'll change to a new dimension and we'll do a split. There'll be a timeline split. And the earth is giving the souls a chance to choose what vibration they want to be on because when the split happens, whatever vibration you're on at that moment, you'll be stuck on until you leave this life. And here's the other thing about this life, it's a game. It's a game
Mhm.
created by other souls for us to experience. It's not necessarily for evolution or school or stuff like that. Um, it's just a soul that has never incarnated to Earth and a soul that has. They're just different, but they're not. The soul that has incarnated to Earth isn't better. It's like, is the number one better than the number seven? No, it's just a number. Now, you experience certain things on the Earth and you take that on the other side, and it's like a movie. You're like a movie on the new movie on the block. All your friends from the other side, hey, can I change energy with you so I can see how it was to be you? And they do that very fast. But and also, yeah, so we're going to this timeline split, and the Earth is changing frequencies. We also change timelines every 3 minutes. Not like people think, oh, a timeline, it's a big thing. It's not really a big thing at all. We're just not conscious of the timelines change. Some of us. Sometimes we are. Like if you put your keys on a table in your house and you come back 2 hours later and those keys are no longer there. And you know, I said, I know I put them on there on that table. And you go around looking your house for these keys, looking everywhere. And you come back another 2 hours later, and then there's the keys again. That you've experienced a timeline shift. Or and it doesn't have to be keys, could be any object. Now the timeline shift, because the Earth is a soul. That's another thing I got. It's alive. And there's many consciousnesses that come to the Earth to experience. Um, the fly, the bird, the tree, a drop of water, all have a soul, and they come to experience.
That
Okay,
totally
all
makes sense, Dennis, because, if we learn something in theory, it's different than when we actually experience it. Like we could hear about riding a bike or swimming, but until we actually do those physical activities, then we really learn. So that totally resonates.
yes, and it's also like um on the other side, it's like you have all this knowledge. It's like on the other side you read all the books on how to drive a car, but you never driven a car. You see, so you come here to experience, and it's not for us to judge somebody else what they chose to experience, you know. And here's the other thing I got. There is no such thing as a horrible death. Why? Because your soul is taken out sometimes minutes, half an hour before your body dies. It's taken out. So if somebody's going to shoot you in the head, you're going to get taken out probably a minute or a few seconds or even a couple minutes before the actual shot comes. So you won't experience that. You can see it, but when you're on the other side, you're no longer connected to that body. Even once you're out of your body, you won't be really connected to it. It's if you died. Um, here's the other one. We also visit the other side every night. We're just not conscious of it. Um,
It's like which one is real? The dream went into dream state or the awake state, right?
right, right, exactly, exactly. And you have a certain perimeter in your dream state, and then you have outside of that. Okay. But we do all kinds of things with our soul when we go to sleep because the soul doesn't need to sleep.
And we are able to escape our limitations while we're awake. So again, that totally resonates. Like while I'm
Yes,
awake, I'll have certain fears or think I can't do
right.
something. While when I'm
Exactly.
dreaming, I can do everything.
Exactly. Exactly. Which is your true self. Now the earth is just this has never happened in to the earth before to go into this 5D frequency. And once that happens, I tell people it's like if you stand in front of a wall, you're going to have your shadow and you're going to have you. When the earth does its separation, the shadow will be the 3D and the real you will be in the 5D. And I also got information about both that. I mean, the 3D will not, the evolution of the 3D is not a pretty place. I just want to tell you that. We're seeing, because it hasn't totally split yet, we're seeing a little bit of both of realities of the timelines. We're seeing where the world wants to go, which is not a pretty place. And we're also seeing what the world could be. And that's not in the main media, but if you really look around and search, you can find a lot of beautiful things happening, you know. So um so this is happening now, and 5D, the information I got was that it's going to be you're going to have 20% of your soul's power in the physical body, physical consciousness. So that means you won't need your iPhone anymore. You'll have telepathy. You'll be able to talk with all things, water, plants, animals, trees. Okay. You'll be able to create matter with thoughts. So you can create that double cheeseburger with McDonald's, but it'll be a healthy one. It won't be a synthetic one. Okay. And there'll be no need to kill for killing. There'll be no killing of people, plants, or animals in the 5D. You'll be able to visit the other side and come back.
That's beautiful. Would it be an actual physical shift or is it just in terms of frequency?
Um, it is happening physically now because right now we're having, I don't know if you're familiar with the Schumann resonance.
Can you explain it to the viewers what the concept is about?
Okay, well, the Schumann resonance, if you look at the picture behind me, that light blue line that's going around the Earth, that's the Schumann resonance. And it regulates the electrical pulse of the Earth, like the heartbeat of the Earth. And our brains are connected to that particular frequency. And when you change that frequency, which is doing now, that's never been done in history, it is affecting your DNA. It's changing your DNA. And the earth is trying to prepare you for this 5D frequency, which is a much higher frequency. So your body is changing. And the scientists will tell you literally, there is more light coming to the planet from the sun. Literally. That's why if you ever look at the sun lately and say, oh, sun doesn't look normal like it used to. It has this white light, not a yellow light, because there's more of it coming to the planet. So this is definitely going to change the body physically, for sure. And it's also the higher the frequency, the more closer to God. And God is what? Truth and love. So the more truth is coming out. And sometimes the truth that's coming out is not so nice truths, but it's the truth. And that's why we have all these events happening now in the world for people to see the truth. And now, what choice are you going to make about it? And the other thing I got is vibration. Vibration is everything. And there's only two vibrations, low or high. What's low vibration? Low vibration is fear, anger, judgment, hate, depression, you know, jealousy. All this is low vibration. What does low vibration do? Well, low vibration makes things work more difficult if they work at all. And low vibration is very bad for your health. What is high vibration? High vibration is joy, love, smiles, laughing, forgiveness, gratitude, okay? Nature, animals, babies. This is all high vibration. What does high vibration do? High vibration makes things work easier, better. High vibration brings all your life goals to happen quicker. Okay. And also, the doctor will tell you if you laugh more, it's what? It's better for your health. High vibrations. The vibrations are like a radio station. And the other thing I got, which a lot of people are very shocked because it's so much in a lot of other religions, is, but I got it, so I'm going to say it, which is there is no karma. There is only frequency. So if you go to kill somebody and you kill somebody, it's not because you killed somebody now you're gonna your karma you're gonna be killed. No, it's because you are on that killing frequency. And when you're on that killing frequency, that radio station, you can kill, but you can also be killed. Because like I said, God does not punish. There is no punishment in God, and there's only free will here and also on the other side. Because we are loved by God so much, even beyond our comprehension of love, what we call love on this planet. And there's things I tell my clients. Um, but yeah, I wanted to tell you also something I didn't talk about was that after my near-death experience, I came back with some gifts, which I discovered by accident because I was after that experience, then my mind was blown because I had to digest all this information. And so I was going back to my music, and my band was playing in this club in Mont in Canada, and there was a snowstorm. We were in the club, and there was nobody in the club except two waitresses. So we were having beers, and we were bored because there was nobody coming because of the snowstorm. So I called the waitress over, and it was supposed to be a joke. I said, "Waitress, give me your left hand. I'm going to tell you your future." So she gave me her left hand, and I told her, I said, "Your boyfriend is paraplegic. He blames you for his handicap, even though it wasn't your fault. 3 months from now, you're going to meet a guy and you're going to fall in love. And another 3 months, you're going to marry him. And then I just let her hand go and finished my beer. I noticed that she didn't say anything, which I felt was a little strange, but I didn't pay it no mind after. So I drank my beer and we would continue to laugh. A year later, we played that same venue and she still was working there. She ran up to me and she said, "Do you know that everything you said was true?" I said, "No way." I said, "Your boyfriend was paraplegic?" She said, "Yes." I said, "He blames you for his handicap even though it wasn't your fault?" She said, "Yes." I said, "3 months after that, you met a guy and fell in love?" She said, "Yes." And I said, "In another 3 months, you got married?" And then she didn't even say anything. She just showed me the wedding ring. And the bumps went up my arm. And I said, "Oh my God, what's happening to me? I'm turning into an alien. What's going on?" And my band said, "What's happening to you, man? You turning into Nostradamus or something?" I said, "I don't know what's going on." And that was the first point that I saw that I had some kind of gift. It happened again, but this time it was a little bit more heavy because we had we go to this after hours, this band, my band, and we had some friends, and one or two of the friends were bouncers at the door. And this one bouncer, I had a revelation or premonition that for this weekend he should not go out, that he should stay in his apartment, don't go out. And I said, "This is crazy." I said, "This guy is huge. Nobody's going to mess with this guy. You'd be crazy to even think of trying to mess with this guy." And I said, "He's going to think I'm crazy if I go and tell him, 'Hey, man, don't go out this weekend. Stay home. Don't even go to your job. Just stay home for these 3 days." So I didn't tell him. I saw him on that Friday, and I almost told him. Then I said, "Nah, he's going to think I'm crazy." So I didn't tell him. And the Sunday came, and I went to that same club because this club is like an after hours. It's a place where once the normal clubs close, you can go to these after hour clubs, which stay open till 8 o'clock in the morning, and you still can have a drink. So we, after the band would do it, we would do our shows. We were too wired up with energy to just go home and fall asleep. So we would go to these after hours. And so I went on Sunday to this after hours and I saw that the the doorman was not there. There was another doorman. And this doorman was standing at the door with tears rolling down his face. And I said, "Hey man, what's wrong?" He said, "You didn't hear?" I said, "No." I said, and he said, "The guy is dead, the bouncer." I said, "Dead?" I said, "What happened? How?" He said that he met a girl on Saturday and after his shift, he took her to a hotel, and she waited till he fell asleep and took a butcher knife and start slashing his throat. And he tried to stop her, but he had lost too much blood, and he lost consciousness and died. And after that, I said, "Never again. I don't care if it's the President of the United States. If I get a premonition about them, I'm gonna tell them. I don't care whether they think I'm a crazy guy or whatever. I'm gonna tell them." So I never withheld information again.
So how long was it before you started talking about everything? The
About
NDE,
oh,
your mom's.
about 2 years. 2 years before I really start to talk about it, and and then as time goes on, I started to do more interviews and bigger interviews and stuff like that. Um, but I also found out also that I had a gift for healing also. Um,
What
I just
modality? What type of healing?
pretty much a lot of everything. Um, I've had some healings of cancer. I've had some healings of somebody who couldn't walk was going to buy a wheelchair. Now they don't. They go to discos now. Um, different types of healing, spiritual healing. Yeah, just healing, I would say.
That sounds fantastic. I have three questions I ask.
Yes.
The first is, what brings you joy and laughter these days, Dennis?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. What brings me joy and laughter? Well, it's helping others, seeing them smile or seeing them think that there was a no way end situation and they see a whole nother new way through the spiritual side. That brings me a lot of joy. Helping people or helping someone who were going to kill themselves, they're not killing themselves anymore. Helping people believe in themselves and about frequency, telling them, if you stay on that high frequency, it's going to give you your life goals are going to happen quicker. And I just had a friend who just wrote a book, and before they were like, I don't know if I'm able to do it. And I said, stay on the high frequency, stay on the high frequency. You'll be able to do anything. You'll be able to do it. And now they have the book. So this brings me joy to help others and also to help other people um, in the world to see a bigger picture of who they really are. We're all just made out of love. That's it. We are love.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
What would you tell young Dennis who's about to embark on these wonderful adventures?
Well, I would have told him that first thing, you don't need to follow anybody to be successful in music. You could do it yourself and also love others as you would like to be loved and and enjoy the experience. Yes.
What final message or blessing do you have for those listening?
I would say first, um, what you think and what you say is a 24-hour prayer to the universe. Remember that. So we're all telling ourselves a story in our mind. If the story is a low vibration story, change the story. Okay. And also make a list of 10 things that automatically make you happy. The first I'm give you is nature. If you go into nature and you sit under a tree for 1 hour, your vibration will rise. Automatically, you have to do nothing. The other 10 things will be personal to you. Could be your favorite ice cream, could be a funny movie, could be a friend that makes you laugh, could be a kitten or a puppy, could be drawing, writing, or sewing, could be a good book, could be a good movie. When you feel your vibration going down, you look on your list of 10 things and you do one of them. I have the same list. My number two is Bugs Bunny. So if I feel bad, and please don't watch too much news because it's low vibration. And if you have anything that happened in your past that's low vibration, doesn't mean that you have permission to go back and think about that past just because it really happened, so now I can go back. No, because if you go back, you will lower your vibration. Everything is vibrations. Vibrations is the most important thing. And that's what I would tell your public.
Thank you so much, Dennis, for being here with me today. And I hope everyone enjoys this as much as I enjoyed listening and conversing with you today.
Mira, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on your show, and I hope that your listeners enjoyed this particular portion of your show. And um, yeah, I'm very happy to be here and very grateful to you. Thank you.